Hey YouTube, it's Elvis Ammo here. Hey, today I wanted to talk about powder coating and the advantages of powder coating and why do it. It may seem elementary, to some of us, that there's good reason to powder coat our bullets, but there's still a lot of folks out there that ask me questions like, why powder coat? What's it for? Why would I want to take the time to powder coat my cast lead bullets? And obviously, there's some people out there that are just the traditionalist, and they want to load their ammo using liquid A-locks and lubricizers and all of those things, and that's just fine. I just wanted to be sure to say up front that this video is not about putting down anyone who wants to lubricate their bullets. They shoot just fine lubricating your bullets. There's some disadvantages to only lubricating your bullets, and that's what we're going to talk about. Not so much the disadvantages with lubricating versus powder coating, but really what I'm talking about is just really the advantages of powder coating our bullets. That's really what I want to talk about. It's going to be very little about lubricating our bullets. Some people, in the past have used the traditional, liquid A-locks, or, their different wax sticks, and heat the wax up and lubricize them in different methods like that. And, I have some bullets right here. These are some 9mm bullets that, they have your traditional lube on them. These are tumble lube bullets, with your 45-10 system or liquid A-lock system. And they shoot just fine. Now, like I said, this is not going to be about lubing bullets, but I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're lubing your bullets, it's not an issue at all. But I would encourage you to give powder coating a shot, and because what it's going to do is it's going to give you some options. One of the disadvantages, I guess, to lube bullets is, you're handling bullets that, you're going to get leading on your hands, while you're on the range or while you're loading and that kind of thing, where with powder coated bullets, they're completely coated, and, you're just not going to have, I just kind of threw out an example of a bunch of different colored bullets, just to kind of give you the idea, but the other thing is, with lube bullets, and I'm just going to get this out of the way real quick, is with lube bullets, you get lube in your dies and you have to clean them out periodically and all of that thing. It's really not that big of a deal. I'm just throwing that out there for people who don't know, what any disadvantage would be. One of the downsides, to powder coated bullets is there's really no data out there for them. I'm hoping, and we keep saying this, the next time one of the major labels makes another data book, that they would include powder coated bullets. We have, Federal Ammo in the 2016 SHOT Show came out with a bullet that they call the Syntec bullet, and it's just a variant of a powder coated bullet. That's all it is. So so they have gone mainstream bullets, you know, powder coated bullets, and some of the advantages that they claim, you know, for their Syntec bullet is the same thing that I like. One of the reasons I like to powder coat, and that is I like to shoot steel. So one thing about shooting, you know, our powder coated bullets is, have some powder coated bullets here. They don't have a jacket on them, and because there's no jacket on these bullets, you don't have to worry about a jacket flying back at you, and we like that shooting steel. So and that's one of the things that, you know, that I happen to know for sure. You know, that's why we wear safety glasses and that kind of thing when we're shooting. You know, we don't want things flying back at us, and we got to protect ourselves. So I kind of made some bullet points over here on the wall, just because there's really a lot to go over. You know, it's not that big of a deal, but you know, I know that you know, I can get off track pretty quick. And really, you know, what I wanted to get out here is because people ask me quite often, believe it or not, quite often, you know, why do you powder coat? And, you know, it's not that easy sometimes to just give a quick answer for, you know. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do a video and give somebody a reference to go back to, you know, on this particular subject that they could look at and just kind of make sense of it. Now, Fortune Cookie 45LC, he has done a pretty extensive chaptered, you know, videos on, you know, the subject of powder coated bullets are game changers. Some of you that are interested should watch that series, and it's helpful, you know. Now, you know, with that said, you know, he probably, you know, he probably covers a lot of these subjects, you know, most of them, maybe even more, you know, of the bullet points that I'm touching on. But because I get so many questions about it, I thought, you know, I really do need to address this and just kind of do a video on the subject. Even though, you know, we've seen, you know, ballistic tests done and the ballistic gelatin and how the bullets perform and all of these things. You know, maybe someone didn't see that video to get an idea of the advantages of powder coated bullets. I had someone comment today, you know, about, you know, the speed in which you could send a powder coated bullet, and I think they were way off, you know, on what the reality was on what you can do with these bullets. And I kind of laid out a few examples here, and a lot of you guys, some of these bullets have been fired on video and documented. Like for instance, well, first of all, let me mention another advantage of a powder coated bullet is, you know, we don't need to use gas checks. And some people still insist that gas checks are necessary, you know, for certain distances and velocities, and I don't know about all that. All I know is in my testing myself, I have found it negligible, you know, the differences. Sometimes in one test I may find a very slight difference using a gas check, and you know, where the advantage goes to the gas check, And another test that I might do, I'll find a very slight example where the bullet that was not checked does a better job. So, you know, in my mind, personally, I feel like, you know, it's just kind of, it's so close to call that it's almost a fluke that one may perform so slightly better than the other. So I've not found, you know, that the gas check is an advantage. Now there's some people that are shooting great distances with these powder coated bullets, and I happen to know that for a fact. So for those folks, it'd be interesting, you know, to know that if they would fire a gas check bullet and one that's not checked, you know, to kind of test for themselves instead of assume that the gas check is a better bullet. So the other disadvantage with using gas checks is they are very expensive. You know, you can spend 3 cents to 5 cents a piece just for one gas check, which increases the price of our ammo so much. To me, it's, you know, that's a game changer for me personally, you know, using gas checks. So I like the fact that I haven't seen that I needed them with powder coated bullets. And the next thing I'll throw out is, you know, people ask, you know, at what velocity can you shoot a powder coated bullet? And I don't know the limit. I haven't found a limit in which I can fire a, you know, I mean, I was testing some ammo recently, you know, and I've shot them up to, you know, 2,900 feet per second, and I didn't see, you know, an issue with the velocity versus the powder coated bullet. So, you know, one of my favorite rounds in 223 are runs around, you know, just over 2,500 feet per second. And one of the reasons I use velocity is because I couple that with the hardness of the lead that I use, you know, to increase or decrease the expansion of the bullet, like for instance in the ballistics gel. So with that said, you know, this is an example of a bullet right here that is a 30 caliber bullet that where it's fired. You can see the rifling on it, and you can see where the powder coating held up just fine. If anything, you know, it looks like maybe faded, or maybe some of the fouling in the barrel from the powder had rubbed off on the bullet, causing it to discolor. Now, one thing that's notable, this was a semi-compact load, and you can see the bottom of the bullet right there has an impression of the gunpowder. You can almost figure out what gunpowder that is, or you could certainly say that that's probably a stick powder or an extruded powder, and you would be right. So you can see that. So there we go, you know. And you know, this was a bullet that was this is the same bullet, by the way. This bullet I made, you know, fairly hard. This is a hard cast, so it didn't expand or flatten out or anything. Okay, so I took that same bullet, and you can see the difference. See the bottom of the bullet, same impression on the bottom right there of the gunpowder, but it's a much softer lead. Look at the expansion of this baby, and you can see the powder coat. It's all over the bullet. Powder coat didn't go anywhere, and this baby's cruising. 30 caliber bullet. You can see the rifling. All right. And again, it has the same signs on this bullet where there's probably some blackening, fouling from the barrel onto the bullet. Alright, now that is my favorite supersonic 300 blackout round, by the way. I can duplicate this. I can shoot these all day and make them do the same thing. Penetration and expansion. It's a wonderful load. Cast lead bullet. No gas check. No gas check. Alright. And I have several examples of this stuff, and I want to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, you know, just as an example, you know, here's some 9mm that were fired. You can see all the powder coating. This one looks like it, you know, hit a rock or something. But you can see the powder coating all over it. There's the rifling. People ask, do you get leading? I don't get leading. I probably get, you know, as much leading as you get fouling. I guess if I could say that. Here's another one that was fired. Looks like this yellow really worked out good. There's the bottom of the bullet. And that was one of the things that I wanted to kind of put out there. You know, people, you know, the gas check covers the bottom of the bullet. Well, the bottom of the bullet here, now that's a rifle load, so you know it was cruising. The bottom of the bullet still has powder coating on it. It didn't burn the powder coating off, so why would I put a gas check on it? Now, the gas check, you know, also, you know, scrubs the barrel, so to speak, you know, as it kind of sweeps it out as it goes through. So just to be fair, I'm just kind of throwing out all of those possibilities, the claims and the facts and even the myths. So here's one. Here's a this is a bullet that I dug out of the dirt. Alright, there's a white powder coated bullet. You can see the bottom of it right there. It's beautiful powder coated bullet. You can see where it went into the dirt. So, I mean, whoop, okay. Alright, it wouldn't have been right if I didn't drop a bullet. You guys know that. Okay. You know, I'm going to pick out a couple others. You guys seen this one on video. This is a bullet that I tested for a subscriber out of 38, and you can see the expanded hollow point. Alright, and you know, there's the powder coating on it. You can see how it survived for yourself. Oh, I don't have to tell you what it did. You can see it. Now here's another one. You know, just to be fair, sometimes you'll see where, now this is a 45, you can see sometimes where a bullet got a little bit, you know, somehow got the powder coating wiped off of it. Okay, there's the bottom of the bullet. Alright, so and I'm going to show you a couple more of those maybe, because I wanted you to see that sometimes, okay, here's one. Here's my blue powder that I talk so highly about. Alright, I just want you to see the whole thing here. See how there's powder coating on here. You can see the rifling. And then you can see sometimes where the powder coating had looked like it come off of there. And that happens from time to time. You know, I collect a bullet and I'm like, wow, okay, you know, it looked like the powder coating had come off right there on the shaft of the bullet. But you know, and that's not the first time I've found something like that. And the only answer that I have for that, because sometimes, now I've seen somebody recently, one of my subscribers had posted on the Elvis Ammo Facebook page I'm not sure if he had posted on the Elvis Ammo Facebook page or Lead Loaders forum. But I seen, you know, the picture, he showed a picture of a bullet that, you know, looked like all the powder coating, not all of it, but there was a lot of powder coating missing off the shaft of the bullet, sort of like I just showed you. And you know, one of the comments on that little forum, you know, was, well, it looks like the powder coating done its job. And I agree with whoever said that, because in my own experience, after showing you this sort of thing, and I could probably find another bullet somewhere, you know, that's even worse than that one. You know, is it our fault? You know, maybe we didn't, maybe the bullet wasn't sized large enough, or we shot it through another barrel out of another gun that the bore was a little bit larger. That sort of thing, it's possible. Could we prevent that? It's possible. But in the end, I'll say this. I have not found that to be an issue, because even though I find bullets, you know, sometimes like that, it hasn't leaded my barrel. And what is the end result? What are we looking for? We're looking for a bullet that don't lead our barrel. So, you know, if the powder scrapes off, then, you know, and we find a bullet like that, you know, that's missing, you know, some powder. Now, I don't know how it scraped off for sure. You know, did it come off in the barrel, or did it come off in the ballistic gel? I don't know, you know, for 100% sure, maybe a little bit in each. But just like a lubed bullet will burn off as it's going through the barrel, so will sometimes, I say it will, you know, it looks to me like it's scraped off, not burned off. So I don't know the real answer to that, and you know, I'm sure some of you will comment and maybe, you know, correct me on some of this, and I hope you do. You know, if you you know, you guys always have, you know, some of the best comments probably on YouTube right here on my channel, and I'm honored by that. People read through these comments and learn so much. I do. So, you know, I just wanted to kind of give some examples of, you know, here's a bullet right here that was dug out of the dirt. You can see it was a blue bullet. I mean, it's been destroyed, man. So, I mean, it was in the dirt for a while. And I just dug it out. Powder coated bullet. But it has powder coating all over it. Look at this right here. You know, it went down in the dirt. So, I mean, just example after example of the same thing. Yeah, here's another one that was in the dirt. You can see the powder coating on it. You can see the base of the bullet. And nice mushroom. You know, for some of you that don't know, these are just bullets that I've tested on another video where I just hit it with a torch. And the very hot torch didn't burn the powder coating. It melted the lead within the powder coating. See this blob? Well, you can see I had torched it. So that's how tough this stuff is. I'll give you here's a here's a 223 bullet that I shot. Now this was a test bullet that I'd done with a new bullet, testing it out, and I shot this just for the heck of it. I was like, I'm gonna take a shot in the ballistic gel and just see what it looks like. Well, this was soft lead to begin with, too soft for the velocity. So here's a mushroomed 223. You can see the powder coating on it. Alright. This bullet was probably the same hardness as the as this 30 cal right here, but this one was traveling a little faster. This one was probably, I'm guessing in my testing, this bullet was probably traveling 2,800 feet per second. Alright. And now if I was to increase this hardness as hard as I can make them, I would have had a fine bullet right there at that velocity. And then here's another bullet, a 223 round, red powder coated, and you can see it. I just want you to see the whole gamut. I'm not hiding anything. You know, you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly of powder coating. But what we're talking about here is powder coating advantages. You know, so the downside is there's no low data for our powder coated bullets, and I really would like to see that change. You know, with some of these big companies putting out load data. So the next thing is when we use our load data for powder coated bullets, we tend to use load data for full metal jackets. Alright, because we don't have, this bullet is pretty well put together. Now we always work our loads up because there is no data for our bullet. But so we work from a safe place and work up our loads just like we always do. Got to be safe. You can't just, willy-nilly, grab some data and load your bullet. I'm just throwing that out there. It's your responsibility to do that. It really is. One of the other advantages, that is one of the other advantages, is that we can use our load data, in our book for our full metal jackets, to work up our loads for our cast bullets that are powder coated, so we get greater velocities out of these things without the worry of leading or gas checks. Two biggies. And then the next thing is with powder coated bullets, you're going to have a lot less smoke shooting, whether you're smoking at an indoor range, shooting and smoking your gun in an indoor range, or just shooting outside. You'd be shooting through a cloud of smoke and lose your target in a minute, depending on the wind. So that's another advantage, is you have less smoke. And then the other advantage of using powder coated bullets is, see all these different colors? This is kind of one of my favorites right here. This is just stuff that I throw together by mixing stuff up and all of that. Okay, you can see you got almost like a pink bullet there. Here's a pink for you ladies. There's a pink bullet, so you can make pink bullets. With all these different colors, it allows us, now if you end up with a few different colors of powder coat, you can mix and match and throw some powders together and mix them up and make all kind of different colors. So you can color coat your bullets, magnums or standard velocities, or you can use one color for one caliber, one color for another caliber. However you want to do it, you can, I'm sure, use your imagination and figure out that by color coding, it kind of keeps things quite organized. Now that's an area that I could use some help in myself. I've intended to color code, and then I just kind of end up liking a certain color, and I find myself using it a lot for different bullets, which I shouldn't do. I mean, I should just color code because it would be helpful. I'll just say that. But you can use your imagination on what color coding could do to help. And then here's different examples of different colors. It's like this color right here. I don't have a powder for this color, but I have mixed some colors to make kind of like a purple, right? And that one I just showed you the bullet for. And just different things you can do with powder to color code. You know, these are not colors that I have. These are colors that are mixed to make these pretty speckled and different colored bullets. So, you know, it's like, for example, you know, I just showed you this bullet. I think I did. This is a 230 grain subsonic 300 blackout. You can see the rifling all over it. You see the bottom of the bullet. It's kind of mushroomed a little bit where it turned around and went backwards into the gel as it flipped around in the gel. But you see the rear of the bullet, you know, so you know the gas checks just isn't a necessary item for me. But you know, the other thing, you know, they're low smoke, they're safer and cleaner to handle. They're safer to shoot steel. You don't have to worry about jackets flying back at you. You can color coat with them. You don't have to worry about using gas checks. And the other thing is, you know, if there's different situations where you might have a bullet and you want to increase the diameter of the bullet, and in order to do that, all you have to do is maybe not size the bullet, but maybe it's still not large enough. Well, powder coat the bullet, and then you just gain 0.003 of an inch in diameter on that bullet. It may make, you know, that bullet work in, for instance, an oversized chamber or an oversized barrel, that kind of thing. So there's some other advantages where you could actually increase the diameter of the bullet to get, you know, a better seal where you don't have gas cutting in a particular chamber or barrel. That's one of the other advantages. So I guess really what it boils down to is there's really no disadvantages to using powder coating that I'm aware of. As far as the process to powder coat, I have several videos on powder coating and using different methods in each one. So, you know, check those videos out on powder coating and the different methods. You know, whether you want to bother yourself with a little more work or do something, you know, that's a little easier. There are all kinds of methods out there that I've shown that are just perfect for just about anybody, and, you know, very little work. There's very little to powder coating, you know, depending on what method you choose. So, you know, and I have loaded a bullet right after powder coating it. You know, so, you know, I don't need to lube my bullets and put them on wax paper and let them sit overnight before I can use them or anything like that. I'm kind of looking over my bullet points here to see if I missed anything at all. But you know, really, I hope I covered everything. I really, as I always like to do, when I do a video like this, I want to give information to, you know, to people who are just starting out, and I also want to give information out to people that have been powder coating for a long time and may not realize some of the advantages of powder coating, and that kind of thing. And the next thing I like to do is I like to leave the comment section open so that you guys can comment, because there's always stuff that I miss, and I'll learn a ton from all of the comments in the comment section, and other people, other folks, they come to this channel and they see my video, and they immediately, if they're anything like I am and a lot of other people, they go right through the comments. Sometimes, I mean, boy, you don't need to see no more after reading through the comments. So anyway, YouTube, I have another video that I'm going to be trying to get out on primers. There obviously seems to be a little talk brewing about switching, mixing, and matching on primers, and I was going to talk about that in another video. YouTube, thanks guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.